Okay. Good morning. Today is Sunday. It is the 10th day of Elul. And we are continuing now the chapter 12 in Igeret, HaKodesh. And this chapter, the letter, the Altera wrote about the mitzvah of Tzedaka, as many of those letters. And he explains a verse that says, Ve'aya ma'aseh Tzedaka Shalom, ve'avodat Tzedaka Ashket vavetach. So this is that it says that the work of Tzedaka, the act of Tzedaka, the result will be peace, and the work of Tzedaka, the result, the reward will be tranquility and security forever. And Altera is explaining there is a difference between Maaseh Tzedaka, the act of Tzedaka, which results in peace, and the work of Tzedaka, which result in Hashket Vavetach, in which is quiet and tranquility and security forever. Now, in order to explain this, he first explains what is peace, what is Shalom. To explain what is Shalom, he started explaining that it says, Oseh Shalom bimromav, u'yaseh Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. What does mean Oseh Shalom bimromav? God makes peace above the angels. And he explains that, we all sing this song, we all are praying this every day by Shmona Esrei and other places, by Kaddish. That means that we are asking Hashem, the one who makes peace up there. So he explains the peace up there is between the angels Michael and the angels Gabriel. Each angel has a specific task, what he needs to do. Michael is about giving. Chesed, kindness, which is giving with no limits. Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, is about restrictions. It says Michael is the Sar Shel Mayim, and Gabriel is Sar Shel Esh. Michael is the angel of water, and Gabriel is the angel of kindness. And yet, they don't extinguish one another. How is it that they don't extinguish one another? Because he is Oseh Shalom, Hashem brings the peace. How does he bring the peace? By revealing in them something which is much, much greater, much, much higher than them. And this is the level of Tiferet. There is the Chesed, there is Gevurah. Chesed is giving, Gevurah is restricting. Tiferet is a combination of both that makes peace between them. But how do you make peace? One way of making peace is ignoring each other. They say, they say the husband and wife. They said they have a beautiful marriage. Someone asked them, what's the secret? So they said, we go out twice a week. I go out on Sundays, and my husband goes out on Thursdays. So that's one way of having peace. When, we're not together, you're going each one in their own way. But here, to have them both together, you need something, a common denominator. And that is when you reach something, a goal, which both of is higher than each one of them, and it sees both of them strive to the same goal, and that is what brings peace. So when the angels, when Hashem reveals in them their source, the root, this is the Tiferet. The Tiferet is the compassion. It says, I can understand you and understand you, but there is something, a goal which is higher than both. Says the Altera continued yesterday's lesson, which was Shabbat. The Altera explained that the way to get to this peace is when we do peace in ourselves. What does it mean? How do we do peace in ourselves? So there is something, what you do peace, and one way is through studying the Torah. It says when you study the Torah, when you study Torah lishma, the Torah for the right cause, you bring peace. And when you give tzedakah, same thing, when you give tzedakah, you also cause peace. Why? Because the giving of the tzedakah, when you give it from within to a person that doesn't have, this brings about peace between the good side and the other side. Now, when we're talking about peace in the higher world, there's two sides, but both of them basically are the good side. In this world, to bring down in this world peace is a different story. Why? Here we need to, there is the peace of bringing in this world is by shining the good and eliminating the other side. Because the world is mixed with good and bad. From the time of Adam HaRishon, the world is good with mixed and bad. In other words, everything what we do, even good things that we do, there is something bad also mixed in. There's a story of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, when he was invited by his, when he got married, he was invited by his in-laws, and they gave him, they honored him with saying on Simchas Torah, the Atareza. Say the verses of Atareza. So he goes on, he puts on the talus, and he's stating, everybody's waiting, and it's not starting. And all of a sudden they hear him saying something strange, and he says, if you want to do it, you say Atareza. And he takes off the talus and he goes away. He didn't say Atareza. People thought he was a nutcase, a Michiganer. And later on, they asked him, what was it all about? And he said that when he went to say Atareza, to say the verse, to be the leader, leading the crowd, all of a sudden he sees under the talus next to him somebody else standing. Who is the one standing next to him? Because that's the Yetzer Hara. So I said to him, what are you doing here? So he asked me, what are you doing here? He says, I'm doing here, I'm going to say Atareza. I said the verse of you, Atareza Ladas. I said, I also want to say with you. He says, who do you think you are? So he says, who do you think you are? So Rabbi Levi success today, it's all, what do you mean who I am? I'm a Talmud. I was studying by the Mezritcha Magid, and I was studying the Torah. So he said, the Yetzer Hara tells me, I was there with you all along. So the argument went on, and whatever he said, it says, I was with you. And that's why I told the Yetzer Hara, he says, if you want to say, if you were with me, you want to say, you take the talus and you say Atareza, and he didn't say. What is it? Sounds like a cute story, but there's, of course, a lot of depth in this story. And that is the understanding that wherever we are, whatever we do, we need to be smart to know how to eliminate and to shine the spotlight on the spots in ourselves that are from the Yetzer Hara. Even we give tzedakah, yeah? You give tzedakah, which is a beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing. However, when you give tzedakah, the Yetzer Hara can also come and says, okay, give tzedakah, so people know that you're a good person. So you get all kind of benefits that the Yetzer Hara tells you. He's involved also. And the same thing is in every mitzvah. And this is what he says, that we need to make peace. And in order to make peace is when we shine the light from something which is higher, and that ultimately, eventually, when Mashiach comes, the evil will be totally eliminated. So now we'll continue in today's part, and we'll share the Tanya inside. So The Altera now goes to address what we said, that there is the Maaseh Tzedaka, and there's the act of Tzedaka, and there is the work of Tzedaka. Says the Altera as follows: Ve'inei moidas zois beYisrael, but sheYisrael betiv'am em rachmanim v'goyim lechasadim. It is well known that Jews, by their very nature, are compassionate and perform deeds of loving kindness. That's the nature of the Jew. Why? Because their souls issued from God's attributes. The neshama of a Jew comes from Hashem's attributes. Asher chesed goiva behem al midas adin ve'agvura ve'atzimtzum, in which the chesed prevails over the attribute of din, gevura, and tzimtzum, meaning the chesed, the kindness, overpower the restriction. U'kamoshe kasuv, as it says, gavar chasdoi al yereyav. It is written that his chesed, God's kindness, prevails over those who fear him. Shelokchein nikreis haneshama bas kohen. Therefore, the neshama, the soul, is called the daughter of a kohen. Why? Because it is derived from the attribute of chesed, the kindness, which is called a kohen. It says a kohen is isha chesed. And this is written in the Holy Zohar. Tzedaka that comes from this natural instinct, the natural, the Jewish natural kindness, this is called Maaseh Tzedaka, the act of Tzedaka. Why? Kishem Maaseh Noifel al Davo Shekvar Naaseh Oy Shenaaseh Tomid B'Meileh. Because the term act applies to something which is already done, or something which is constantly done. And this is the constant kindness that is in the nature of a Jew. It is something which the existence is common and constant. And here too, in regard to tzedakah, that is motivated by the soul's innate sense of kindness and compassion. So this trait of kindness and compassion, this is implanted in the souls of the entire house of Israel from before. From the time that they're created and they evolve from Hashem's attributes. As we learned earlier in the Tanya, it says in the verse, that Hashem blew into his nostrils a soul of life. And as we say in the morning prayer, we say, that Hashem, you blew it into me. And it says in the Zohar, Uman de nafach chulu. What it says, the Zohar says, whoever blows, blows from within, which means that the neshama, the soul, that Hashem blew into us, comes from within, from the deeper levels of Hashem. And the same thing also, gam b'chol yoim v'yoim. Betuv v'yimechadish maaseh bereishis. Furthermore, he says, in his goodness, Hashem renews the act, the maaseh, of creation every single day. V'chadoshim labkorim. Likewise, in regards to the soul below, it says, it is written that they are new every morning. So, this is the maaseh tzedakah. This is the act of tzedakah that it comes from the nature, nature that we have is something which is constant. Now, but the other level of tzedakah is called avodas tzedakah, the work of tzedakah. And this is the work not only in tzedakah, in every aspect, in everything. Achloshen avodah, The term service, avoda, einay neufel elo al davar sha'adam oise beyegia atzuma. This applies only to what a man does with immense exertion. Negeteva nafshay, contrary to his soul's inclination. When you're doing something which goes against your nature, that is called avoda. That is called service of Hashem. But he overrules his nature and will out of deference to the supreme will. We're doing things for Hashem's will, and we're nullifying our own will. For example, says the Altera, kegoin leyageya atzmai betoiro b'tfiloi ad mitzvah nefesh. When exhausting himself, for example, in Torah and prayer, to the extent of pressing out of the soul. Mitzvah nefesh, you're praying, not just coming, it's pray, you look in the words and you pray with kavana. You're doing and you really put everything into more than what you're normally do. The afkan, so too is here, in the same case, the mitzvah tzedaka. In the mitzvah of tzedaka, litin arbe yoisa miteva rachmanusa yiratzoinai. When one gives tzedaka much more than his natural instinct, the nature of the charitable nature, the compassionate nature that he has, and the will that he has. When you give much more than that, this is avodas tzedaka. K'moshe Amru Razal, as our sages say, al pasuk nasain titen afilu meya pa'amim. It says in the Torah, says regarding tzedakah, it says nasain titen, give you shall give. The reason and the fact that the Torah repeats it says give you shall give. Our sages teach us that a person should give without limits, and it says afilu meya pa'amim, even 100 times. And this brings to we'll learn tomorrow, what the reward of giving in a way of work of tzedakah brings much, much greater light from the Eibishter. And thank you for joining. Minutes Hashem will continue tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. All the best.